Hey guys, I need to go in and make that camera adjustment and then we'll get started. Sorry, I lost where I had set up the event to start, in advance. I couldn't find it to get it started live. It was like missing in action. I just want to make sure I have the autofocus turned off so it's not driving y'all absolutely bonkers. And I don't think I need to come in any closer. I think I'm fine. So hi, Kathy, Eva, Janet, Lisa E, Kendra. Did anybody have any problems printing off the little hedgehog? Boy, he seems like I'm awful close, doesn't it? It says it's at 100%. So did anybody have any trouble getting imprinted off? I was going to tell you, if you get to go follow the link that I put above, if you need to, I had to print off another copy. I had to actually download this as a photograph, and I told it to do it normal size so I could get my pattern pieces, because I like to keep one sheet whole and then the pattern pieces as a separate one. Oh, you just traced it? Okay. Yeah, he's only about 4.5 inches long total, so it's not a biggie. But I'm going to back up and just go over a few things before we start on our little hedgehog. I actually made a list so I wouldn't forget stuff. I thought I'd go over basic sewing tools. You want scissors, but you want to also have a pair of paper scissors, because your fabric scissors should never, ever, ever, ever touch paper. Oh, Ruby had trouble because her printer was acting up. Well, Eva said she just printed it or traced it off by pulling it up on her screen and then just traced it. So if you have to, you could do that as an idea. Hi, Di. Congratulations on the new little grandson. I saw your pictures. He is adorable. Okay, so back to scissors. Always have a pair of paper scissors that will only do your paper. They'll never cut your fabric. It'll just twist it. Scissors that have been used on paper are just bull poo for fabric. So never ever use your fabric scissors on paper or your paper scissors on fabric. So that's what I used. These little, I think these are Singers, no, Scotch brand. These are the ones I use at my craft table all the time. This is what I use to cut the pattern pieces out. Now, when it comes to sewing scissors, you have straight ones that just cut straight. And these are what I would use on all fabric that does not ravel. If you are starting to work with a fabric that ravels real bad, say rayon or silks and stuff, I would recommend using pinking shears. But for general sewing, you can get just a pair of I think these are actually Singers. I got these at Joann's when I worked there. And you can hear how sharp they are. So these have never touched paper. Pinking shears are for fabrics that ravel. Straight ones are for all other work, and the straight ones are what we'll use today. I just wanted to show you and tell you about the pinking scissors. Needles and pins. Pins are used to hold fabric together when you're going to sew it. They're used to hold pattern pieces onto the fabric when you're going to cut them out. I use them to also hold two pieces together. So pins are basically a necessity if you're going to get into sewing. All right. And I like the ones with the great big balls, not the ones with the little that are just the metallic ones all the way. I don't know what you call them. But I like the ones with the big balls, especially since I'm losing the ability to do that pinching motion. These work best for me, and I can see that really well. So that's just, we're all going to age. So I would just recommend starting with these and never mess with those other ones. Now needles, we'll move this stuff aside. Needles come in a variety of sizes and uses. I would suggest just the basic hand needle assorted set. This has got all the different varieties in it. The bad thing about this is it tells you it's a variety set, but it doesn't show you which ones. But there's darners, embroidery, sharps, betweens, and tapestry. So basic mending, you would use sharps. Betweens is a quilting term. Tapestry, of course, is for heavier fabrics. Embroidery has a larger eye, and darners are a thick needle used to darn socks and things. Not too many people bother with darning their socks anymore. So anyway, and these are yarn darners. These are to use if you knit or crochet and you're going to sew your ends in. These help with that. These are beading needles. They're long and thin. And the reason they're like this is so you can run them through a tray of beads and pick up more than one bead at a time. So like if I had a tray of like seed beads here, I'd just take my needle and just shove it through the pile, and it will pick up to 6 or 7, possibly more if you're really good at it, beads. This is for, of course, cross-stitch needlework and that kind of stuff. These betweens are for quilting. They're short. They're so you can go in and out of the layers and have nice even stitches. And then these are the ones we'll use on our Hedgehog, just embroidery. And these are by the DMC Floss. Yeah, my fabric scissors go nowhere near the craft table, that's for sure. Oh, Kathy, that's so special. I wish I had my grandmother's scissors. Hi, who all's here? Tanya's here. Hi, Tanya. Okay, that's needles, pins, and scissors. I would suggest a thimble. I found this one in my stash, and I'm going to use it today, so I'm going to take it out of the packaging. This one's just a plastic one, and it's an adjustable one. It still doesn't look like it's going to fit my fat fingers. But to push needles through, this will keep you from nicking your fingertip up. I would prefer a metal thimble, but at this moment I can't locate mine. This living between two houses is for the birds. But this has got like a little tab on it to help you push the needle through. So I'm going to try using this one today. Needle threaders are not a necessity if you have really, really good eyesight. But if your eyesight's starting to go down the tubes like mine is, these little metal, this is a needle threader. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see, but see the little wire? It squishes down in. Oh, I wish I could show you here. Maybe we can do this. There, you can see it. That wire will fold in on itself. It folds in. So let me I'll go ahead and get a needle out. Maybe. So you got to get the thread through the hole, and you know how thread will like decide to go in like 4 different directions. This little guy here, you can easily put it in the hole and put it all the way through. See, it's through the hole, and now that gives you a bigger hole. See if I can get it to show. So it's through the needle. Now there's a bigger hole there, and you can put your thread through that. Let me see. I want y'all to be able to see it. There. You can see it gives you a little bit bigger hole to put thread through. And then once you get your thread through that, then you just take and you pull your needle off, and pull the thread on through the hole. Yeah, I have to use these on my sewing machine now too, Janet. I can't see the hole in the machine at all. These things are worth their weight. All right, so I'm going to stick that into my dirty ironing board cover. Measuring tape is a necessity because, like, if you're going to start sewing clothes, you'll need to know how big your bust and waist and hips and all of that is, your length of your arm, you know, how long is your back, your bust line to your waistline, how far up to put your darts if you're going to put darts in a blouse or stuff. So get a really nice one, and be careful not to cut it. Ask me how I know. So a measuring tape, and of course, if you're doing sewing, all-purpose thread. White is always good to have on hand. White, cream, and gray are the ones that I always have extras on hand, because you can use gray on any color of material and it will fade in. That's just a little trick this home ec teacher taught me years ago. If you can't get the thread to match, you can switch to a gray and it'll do all right. But I also have colors, you know, for specific projects. So say you're going to sew a yellow blouse, you'd want to use yellow thread and so on. Let me see if I got any questions here. I'm sorry if things jiggle at all. I am set up kind of funny on my ironing board here. Yep. The young woman I've started watching, she has actually she has a large cutting table and she has some dense foam across her table. And instead of using pins like this, she uses push pins, and she just push pins down into that foam. So that's an idea for when we get settled. So last thing, this is a must-have, especially for new sewers. This is a seam ripper. You will use this a lot. Gray, not Greg. Yeah. Yeah, gray thread, not Greg. Did I say Greg? I thought I said gray. Oh, well, y'all knew what I meant. But a seam ripper is something a new sewer will use over and over and over. You'll turn into a frog. You'll rivet, rivet, rivet. So that's the basics of basic hand stuff. Yes, it is. It's a seam ripper is a necessity. The other thing I wanted to do real quick is kind of go over threading a machine. So give me just a second. I've got to try to move you guys. I'm on kind of a short leash here. We'll see what this looks like when I come up. I need to turn the light off behind the machine. Okay, this is a white quilter star. Scott got it for me. Is that too much light, or are we okay? Okay. Scott got this for me a while ago. We'll see if I can. Maybe I need to turn it a little bit. Okay. Oh, okay. So for those that are new to threading a machine, every machine's slightly different. I can show you how to thread this one. I do not have my other two regular sewing machines. I have a dressmaker that I was given as a high school graduation present in 1982. I keep her because she is my workhorse. This is a lovely machine. It works great for piecing. It's made for quilting. It's got a walking foot, so I can quilt with it. It's even got a free free motion quilting foot, I have not been able to manage free motion. I just can't seem to do it. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but that's one of the things that I'd love to take a lesson on. Janet, you could be threaded wrong in just one position. My sister was having that trouble and she had forgotten to put it through her uptake. That's another thing. If I had my old machine with me, I can show you. This one, you basically follow the green around and down. It's super easy to thread. My old machine, you have to go down around the tension here and then back up through the uptake and then back down and around here. This one, I just kind of thread it through and it's good to go. If I was nearby, Janet, I would come over and look at it for you. I've never done, I have a serger machine, but I haven't used it all that much yet because I was working 70-hour weeks when we got it. So now that I have more time, I'm hoping to have one side of my new craft room set up as a sewing room and the other side as a paper crafting. Yeah, bad thread could be your problem too, but it's almost sounding like there's a miss in threading or your tension is messed up. Hello, Linda McAllister. Yeah, put all your numbers back down to the center number and then work from there. Yeah, Tanya can give us some, and if I get stuck somewhere, Tanya can probably help us because she used to sell the machines. The front line, it gets caught in here somewhere. Well, let me see if I can bring you in a little bit closer. It'll take me just a second, guys. This thing won't open straight to it. I have to go jump through hoops. Okay, now I've got the right camera turned on here. Ooh. All right, that's as close as it's going to let me get. Let me move some things over here. I'm going to turn the light on the machine. I'm going to clip the thread up here. Those need to be sharpened. Where's the, there it is. And I was always told that you never pull your thread back up through your machine because that causes excess lint buildup in it. I always clip the thread and then pull it down in its normal path that it would travel. So on this machine, I've got my thread on the spindle on the top. And then I've got at the top up here, hang on guys. Bye, babe. Have a good day.
Bye.
He's off to work. Okay, I'm going to tilt my machine real quick. Okay. It's got these two arrows. When you're threading it to sew, you just come across and go straight down. This other arrow is to go around this to wind a bobbin. So on this one, I'll come around that little tab and then I just follow the arrows. This one's got really delightful arrows. And I just follow it down there's a little tab thing here. I go around it and then back down and around that one. And now why is mine messing up? It's not doing. There it goes. I didn't have it up far enough in on the top. But the newer machines show you arrows. So you come down around. Then at the top of the needle, there's a little hook. You have to hook this in here. Now, this machine, I do not have to thread the needle. This has got an automatic threader on it. So I go around that little guy there. Oh, I wish I could get in closer. Let's see here. All right. There's a little hook above the needle. You hook your thread through that by just putting it to the back of it. Then on this one, there's a little tab right here. You run your thread up over that tab. Then there's another little tab next to it. You come under that and then go over that. There's another little thing you got to go over there. Then you just push the button and it's threaded the needle for you. It puts a little loop and then you just grab the loop at the back and pull it through. So I love that. And that's the whole reason this machine gets used more than my dressmaker does, or my machine I call Faye, because that's what the girl that owned it before, her name must have been Faye because they etched her name into the front of it. So basically, you've got to go through some tension points. You got to go through one kind of toward the back of your machine. And then you got to come down and go around. If you've got the tension thing here, you have to go around it and then back through your uptake and down. My sister kept missing her uptake. She was trying to come down through, go through her tension and then straight to the needle. She forgot the uptake where it pulls the thread up, when the needle goes up. She was missing that. And then that's why her thread just kept, it would break. And then it was pushing all this thread out onto her project. And she was like, I don't know what's going on. And I said, well, have you tried just pulling the thread and just totally rethreading it? And she did that. And I said, sis, I said, you're not putting it through your uptake. I had to sit there and watch her thread it a couple times to remember that she was missing that. Yeah, your tension can get messed up so easily. My bobbin in this one is a drop-in. Now, on my old machine, on my dressmaker, it's the kind you have to pop the side down this way, and it's got the shuttle that you put the bobbin in. And if you've got one with the shuttle, again, I'll have to bring my old machine up and we'll review an older machine. But the shuttle has a little mechanism on the side of it that will pop out. You have to pull that out and hold the bobbin, kind of like you've got the tab off the shuttle case like that. And while you've got that pulled out, slide your bobbin in, let that go, and then hold the bobbin in the case. And then you have to feed your thread through the little opening on the side of the shuttle. Then you take your finger and wrap it toward the back and you slide it back in. I know that sounds difficult, but if you've done it as many times as I've done it on that old machine, it's what I learned to sew on. It's easy. But in this one, it's even easier. You just get your thread so it's coming out to the left and you drop it in. And there's a little place in the bottom that you feed it through that does the tension for the bobbin. Always turn your wheel toward you, never away from you. This is the stuff I've learned. If I'm wrong, you just let me know. Everybody does it a little different. And that brings the bobbin thread up. I don't know if you can see that or not. It's going to be hard to show. But that's how I sew this. The drop-in bobbin is like heaven after after years of doing the shuttle on the. You always put yours in backwards. And Mary's here. Hi, Mary. Yeah, I've got 2 that have shuttles, this one that's a drop-in, and then my serger, I always pray and hope to God that it never needs to be rethreaded without being able to tie onto it. You know, because if you see that you're starting to run out of thread on a serger, it's always so much easier just to tie your new thread to the thread that's already worked through, because then it'll just feed its way down through. Janet says she needs a drop-in bobbin and an auto threader. This one also has, I'll show you, this one also has, this is a buttonhole foot. You pop your button in at the back and you set this up, you push a button, and then you just let it do its work, and it makes the buttonhole for you. So if you have a foot in your collection that looks like this, this is a buttonhole foot. Who's leaving? Oh, Linda has to go. Okay, see you later. This foot here, if you've got one like this is a walking foot. This is especially delicious when you're doing a quilt, because what it does is it walks along and evenly feeds all your layers of fabric. So you can do straight in the ditch quilting with this. I love this thing. This is a quilter's guide. Say you want to do a row the same distance away on the quilt, you just put this in your foot back here, it slides in. You get this to follow your first pass on there, and then that way you're the same exact distance apart. Like if you wanted to do a diamond pattern on a quilt, you would use this attachment. That's another seam ripper. And then I've got feet that this is the one that I'd love to learn to use. It's the free motion quilting needle. Foot. I just can't do that one. It's got my 1/4 inch piecing foot on it, because basically that's what I do on this machine. And then it's got some other feet that I've never used that I don't even want to talk about. I know this one. That's a zipper foot. And I think this one is my general sewing foot for if I was doing clothing. And then there's some more in here that I need to research more before I even want to talk about them. I think one's a shearing foot. I'll look up more on those. Tanya could probably give us a lesson on all these feet. But I want to get to the hedgehog. So let me put all this stuff in here. Some girl came in and she thought this little place here was to put your snacks when I was working at Joann's. I was like, no, hon, that's where your attachments go. That was almost as bad as the girl that told me that she wanted to know where mole skin came from and if we killed moles to get them. I was like, do you know how big a mole is? Oh my gosh. Oh, Becky, come visit me and I will teach you free motion. That is more than. Which feet? Oh, did I miss something? The feet I have in here, I can't use with my old machine. It's got all screw-on feet. Every foot on that one, I have to unscrew it. This one, again, I love this. It's got a button at the back, and you just push it, and it drops that foot. And then all I got to do to put another foot on, the walking foot's a little bit of work to put on, but I'll show you. There's a basic sewing foot. You just slide it under there and line up. There's a little bar in the foot right there. You just line it up under the foot where the clip is and lower it down, and it should grab it. There it goes. And now it's on. But like I said, I keep my 1/4 inch piecing foot on there because that's what I do mostly. So there. And I always put my thread toward the back when I'm going to store stuff. Like if I was going to stop for the day, I'd put my thread toward the back. Why isn't that going in? And then I drop my foot on it. That way if the machine gets knocked over, the needle's not going to get broke off. I've done that. Let me see if I can find what yeah, the screw-on shank is a pain in the neck, but it's what I learned to sew on. And I love my dressmaker machine. And the reason I love the dressmaker over this for like heavy fabrics, this just feels like it's going to fall apart. My dressmaker is one sturdy girl, man. She will, I could knock someone out with that machine if I had to. All right, I'm going to bring you guys back over this way. Hi. And get you back down on the table. Oh, I don't want to think about flu shots right now. Probably should go. I need to find a new doctor is what I need to do. So, are we ready? Any questions? It's hard to show everything on here. Oh, the only other thing that I did not locate that I like to have if I'm doing hand sewing work with regular thread is beeswax. You just run this, thread your needle, and then take it and run it through beeswax. Then it won't knot on itself while you're trying to do a repair. And if I could have found my beeswax, I would have shared it with you. You can get it at Joann's, and you can probably get it at Walmart even. It comes in like a little round disc now with a little case over the top of it and all that. My grandmother had a great big square of real beeswax, boy, and that stuff works so much better than this mamby-pamby tender stuff that they sell in the stores now. So I'm going to make it, the instructions on the Hedgehog said to make him lavender. Oh, Allie says there's a tip above about her. Hang on, let me see. I'm scrolling up. Oh, hang on. It's hard to follow chat when I've got my back to the computer. I got to figure out a different way. Oh, Allie, I'm not seeing it. Hang on, give me a second to get back down to you guys. Yeah, that auto threader is just a dream. That and the buttonhole foot. On the dressmaker that I have, you had to tack, stitch one side, tack, turn, do the other side, tack, turn. Well, hi, Gareth. How are you? Yeah, I used to have a couple bobbins in my little goodie box on the front of my machine, but Allie, I didn't see your tip, hon. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. I understand now, Tanya. You're saying you can get all these kinds of. You just have to. The feet. You just have to know what kind of shank you have, like a screw-on shank. Do you have a high shank, a low shank? What's the? I can't remember the other ones. I know you can get all kinds of feet for all kinds of machines from a place called Home Sews. At least you could. I don't know if they're still in business or not, but it was called Home Sews. And Scott got me like 100 bobbins from there for Christmas one year. Oh, Mark, if you can find someone to work on that, I would so keep it and get it working again, because those things never die. It just needs some tender love and care. Scott and I rescued a machine out of the trash. That's my Morris machine that somebody was just throwing out. And my mom knew somebody that would look at it, and he completely cleaned it and reworked it for $15. And now it works great. I mainly use it for piecing because it's such an old machine. It does basically just a straight stitch. Yours is preset. See, I don't think this one's preset. I think I just have to put the button in the foot, and it'll just sew the length of the buttonhole that I need. And it does both sides. I don't have to touch it once I get it started at the beginning. Yeah, I don't see it either. Oh, I've been about to die to get a pink machine. Don't ask me why. I don't need another sewing machine. Yeah, I looked and looked, Allie, and I didn't see it. I didn't delete any comments. Gotcha. Gotcha. Shh, Tanya, I don't need to hear that. Make a P and it'll go right in. Okay, that's it. Yeah, the thread will come off to the left. And when you drop it in, yeah, it is a letter P. That is a cool idea. That's cool. All right. So, hedgehog time. Oh, you're making me feel so much better, Kendra, because I have 3 regular sewing machines, a serger, and that's it. I don't have an embroidery machine. One of the girls at when I worked at Joanne, she was my assistant manager. She kept trying to taught me into an embroidery machine. And then she came in one day and she broke her foot on the embroidery machine. She had tried to step over something and ran her foot right into it. And I said, Amanda, I don't need an embroidery machine. I don't want a broken foot. So she said, no, you just have to have it set up. And I was like, well, you didn't have yours set up and you broke your foot. So now I don't want one. All right, so we don't need any of this sewing thread or any of that. I'm going to put it back in this tin. I got this awesome tin thrifting. Do y'all remember? It works great for just random pieces when you're trying to clean up quickly. This is my piece of fabric that I use when I get to the end of a seam. Like when I get to the end of a seam, I'll just feed this through and then cut my thread. That way I'm not wasting a whole great big bunch of thread. So that's why that was there. All right, so we're going to need some pins and a needle threader, a needle, and some embroidery floss. And this is stuff I got at Goodwill. I'm just going to I'm going to use some colors that might not really look all that hot together, but I want you to be able to see the stitches. So I'm just going to pull out some of this. It's number 335. So that's what I'm going to use to sew my hedgehog together. So basically, the pattern tells you what you need. You have to cut 2 ears. So I'm going to cut this out twice out of this purple. And I'm not even going to bother pinning the ear down. But then you'll need one base, and I'm going to use the blue for the body of the hedgehog. So I've got this folded in half. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and cut his body out first, way out here at the very end. And then once I get his body cut out, I'll just lift up one layer and then cut out the base so that I'm not cutting out two bases. I only want one blue hedgehog. So I'm just going to I'm going to line my bottom up with the edge of the felt, and then I'm just going to cut it out. And you don't have to be crazy perfect with this. You can just kind of follow it. If you wanted to, you could trace around it with a marker or stuff. The only thing with that is you might end up with, marker on your hedgehog's ears. And I'm just kind of holding it with my left hand and cutting around. And there's one ear. And I'm just using craft felt on this. I don't have my wool felt out here for this. I did go to Joann's and get some more wool felt for the fabric book work. You know what? I guess I'm okay. Am I too close? Can you guys see okay? So there's the two ears. So I'm going to move the purple fabric out of here. Yeah, I love to find those old tins like that. At one time it probably contained cookies. All right. Now this one, I wanted to show you something on the pattern. The little black dot, that of course is his eye. This little slashy marks here, that's where you'll attach his ear once you get it. So I'll show you when we get there, but I wanted to let you know that's what those marks are for. I'm going to try to get this. And I think this does have some wool in it because it's by the yard. Joann's used to sell all kinds of wool and polyester blend felt, and then they quit doing it. When they put all of this to clearance, that's when I got it. I'm just lining up my two layers and then putting the flat edge of the hedgehog pattern across the bottom. Felt has no weave or direction, so you don't really have to worry a whole lot about that. I might put one up here. He would probably hold as he is, but you never know. All right. And I like to just kind of get him cut down to a point where he's easier to manage. Now, if you do needlework, embroidery and stuff like that, you could draw a fancy like flower and scroll design on your hedgehog body and do the stitching before you sew him together. And that would be really pretty. Like do like his back here with a pretty floral. I'm thinking I might do that as something to do as a gift for family members. All right. Excuse this ironing board. This thing has seen lots of quilt piecing and ironing. And that's another must-have. If you're going to sew clothes, you have to have an iron and an ironing board. You have to. Because you'll get a better fit if you iron everywhere they tell you in the pattern. All right. Now I'm going to cut my base out because you only need one base, two bodies, two ears. That's it. Scott wasn't feeling good today. I was trying to talk him into staying home, but he would not do it. He's got 50-something hours of vacation he has to use before the end of the year. I'm hoping they're giving it off. He asked for the beginning of October, 3 days of the vacation. So I'm hoping they'll allow him to take it. I'm sure they will. The problem is he's the only technician on second shift right now, so he's kind of required to be there. Yeah, if you scroll all the way to the top, you can get to the pattern. I put the comment up there with the link to the pattern for him. I did have a little trouble printing it off the second time, and what I ended up having to do is download it as a photo, download it and tell it to do it in regular original size, and then I could print it. Yours doesn't scroll. Let me see if I've still got it in here. Let's see what pastes in here. Nope, that's not going to help you. Hang on just a second. Hopefully I won't lose you guys since I've got the Ethernet cable on. Let's see. Okay, Mary, let me know if you can get to it there. Yeah, you know, our husbands need a break too when they're sick. You know, I used to be the same way. I would not miss work for anything. I would go to work just sick as a dog because I didn't want them to be short, you know. But you know what? It doesn't help if you go in sick and then you make everybody else sick. So I finally, there toward the end, it was like if I was sick, I stayed home, and that was it. All right, so there's my single base, and my 2 pieces for his body is here, and his 2 little ears. I want to see if Mary can get it. Did she get it? The link is no longer in today's video. I just put it up above. Does that not work? Oh, okay. I see. She got it. And you can use just craft felt on this. It's not any big deal or anything. And he's really easy to sew together. What we're going to do is the last time I made this, I just used a blanket stitch. Does everybody know what a blanket stitch is? I guess we'll start there. I'm going to pin the 2 layers of his body together so they don't shift all over on me. I want to have enough thread that I can get all the way up and over his body. Penelope and Pierre's pet. I am going to, you know, DMC Floss has 6 strands of thread. I am going to separate out so I have just 2 strands of thread. I'm not sure what I've got here. Bear with me, guys. If you get a hold to that, it will not roll up on itself. I say, and then it rolls up on itself. I'm just separating out a couple strands. I don't know if I've got 2 or 3 separated, but what I'm doing is I'm just working it a little bit at a time. There we go. Looks like that's all I got is 2 strands. Yeah, 2 strands of thread are there. Now I'll show you how that needle threader works. Marvelous thing. Let's see here if it'll do. I think it's time I needed new glasses. There we go. All right, so I've threaded that through there. You can see the little lines there. It's hard to see. I'm going to show you how to do it. Let me get this threaded. I've got the end of my thread here. The needle threader is through the hole, so I have a bigger hole to aim for to get the thread in. Then you just put the thread through, and then you can just grab your needle, pull this back through, and see it pulls the thread through too. So if you're having trouble seeing the thread, I would get some of those. They're like hardly any cost, and you can get them even at Dollar Tree. All right. I am going to knot this. Generally, when you do needlework, you do not have to. But since this is a sewing project and I can hide the knot on the inside, I'm going to do it. And this is how I tie a knot. I just take it and wrap it around my finger, and then it's just wrapped around till the end, this side is past the end, which is between my fingers. And then I just roll it like that and then pull. And I have a knot. All right, so let me show you here. I'm going to hide the knot on the inside. So I'm going to separate my layers and just put the knot at his bottom. I'm starting at his butt. And I'm just going to pull that up through to the knot like this. Okay. I almost feel like I need to be on the other side so y'all can see it exactly as I'm going to do it. All right. So I've got my thread off toward the right, and I'm going to make sure it stays like that, and then come around this way. So you've made a big O of your string. Come up a ways. Well, let's go ahead and take a stitch here. What you want to do for a blanket stitch is you want your thread to kind of encircle, come around the needle, and then back through the thread, so that when you pull it up through, you end up with a stitch on the opposite side of this thread. So let me do that again. And we're going to come up about 1/8 of an inch or so. Go through both layers of fabric. And you can see, here's the thread. It comes around back to the needle. And this is what they call a blanket stitch. So when you bring it down in, you end up, it encloses the edge as you go along. You just want to make sure the thread is on the opposite side of the needle. So say you're going to pull it up. Okay, I'll show you what not to do. Say your thread's like this. It just comes down and around and back up. When you pull this up, what's going to happen is you're not going to end up with that pretty little finish. It'll go at an angle across the fabric. I can fix it. So see, it doesn't do like I'm trying to get it to do for a blanket stitch. To fix it, all you got to do is loosen the thread up, go up through the middle of it, and then there. Now see, you can end up with a little bit. I might have to turn the autofocus back on. Who's making a skunk doll? I'm having trouble holding on to things today, guys, so bear with me. Another thing you can do, if you don't want to make sure the thread is going around, you can take the thread where it comes out of your previous stitch and just wrap it around the needle. That way you can do it that way as well. Most of the time, though, I just let it fall and come around. That way I'm only doing one motion. I don't have to do anything else with my hand. Come down around. You just want to make sure you're catching both layers because you're going to stuff him and you don't want his stuffing to fall out. I'm trying to go slow enough so you can see. Mary's making a skunk instead of a hedgehog. And sometimes when your thread starts rolling on itself, like I'm having trouble, you can just let your needle drop and let the thread unroll. And it'll just spin. It'll just take that twist out of it. There we go. And I periodically will readjust my thread and rest my hands a minute and that kind of stuff. Oh, I can't wait to see it, Mary. You're going to have to put a picture of this skunk. So basically, you're just going to keep doing this blanket stitch all the way up and around to the very bottom of his nose. Where it starts to go flat again, do not stitch there. That's where we're going to put our bottom in. Okay? That'll give him dimension. And what we'll do is we'll stitch down one side of his bottom, stuff him, and then stitch down the other side of his bottom. But we'll do that here in a minute. Let me move all this stuff out the way so I quit catching in it. Is everybody got? Lisa Elaine, you're confused. What's the matter, hon? Thank you, Allie. So whichever is easy for you, whether you drop your thread and come around. So like where you just came out of your stitch here, follow your thread around. So when you stick your pin in, or your needle rather, not pin, your thread is going to be around the needle. You can pull it up and that'll give you your blanket stitch. You can also just stick your needle in your fabric through there, grab where it just came out of the previous stitch and wrap that around your needle and then pull up. Whichever way is easiest for you. I just find the one motion. I like to save as many motions as I can. But if you do find it easier just to wrap that thread around by hand, you can. My stitches aren't very even today. Normally that would bother me, but with the issues with my hands the last couple weeks, I'm going to just be happy I got it sewed. How about that? And who was it? I think it was Kelly. Is that right? She was talking. Somebody I watched this morning was talking about, no, it was Amy. Amy said, don't be in such a hurry. You're doing a craft to spend time. How long it takes doesn't really matter. She said if the time went by quickly, you'd be saying, oh, now what should I do? You know? And I've got to try her awesome cleaner aging method for magazine pictures. That was so cool. If you haven't seen that, watch Al John. Amy's video from this morning. It's pretty cool. Sherry says she needs to find some felt. If you have a Walmart nearby, they have felt. They have it by the yard and by just the little squares, and you would only need a little, 2 different colors of craft. And I think we get it for like, oh, I haven't bought any in a while, but it wasn't much, 79 cents for a sheet. And I don't know if like a dollar store would carry it. I would think they would, but been known to be wrong. This is one of those little projects that's fun to take when you know you're going to have a wait in a doctor's office and you end up with a whole herd of children gathering around you. It just sounded like so much fun. I'm trying to mix it up and do a couple of each method. I hope I'm not confusing you guys. It might be easier just for new folks that are new to blanket stitch to just grab the tail and wrap it to the other side of the needle and then draw up. Whichever you find easier, go for it. I think I need to come down a little bit farther. I don't want his stuffing to fall out. When we were down to the house, my ear was hurting. And so I put a little bit of cotton in my ear with a little Vicks on it. And not Greg, but Scott said, "Come here." And I was like, "What?" He said, "We've just got to show our son." And we walked in Greg's room and he said, "Greg, look, your mother's stuffing's falling out." I was like, "Oh my gosh." Oh, I love Amy and Papa. They're just the sweetest people. And I have just loved her series on doing crafts inexpensively. She's got a hack or a tip just all the time. It just amazes me. She does a different money-saving tip every single week. She's made her own storage out of recycled cardboard. She's just amazing. I think one of my very first swaps was something Amy made. I got Amy as a swap partner, and every time I see that box she made, it just makes me smile. I had to pack it up the other day and get it ready to move, and who knows when I'll get to see it again. And we just got to get the amount of stuff limited down there in the house so that we can just work on the house. And poor Greg's going to end up feeling like he's living in a storage building. How's everybody doing? Is everybody almost to the nose yet? I'm trying not to go too fast. And when I pull the needle up, I don't want to pull it so tight that I wrinkle the fabric. I want to make it so that each of the threads just lays smoothly along the top. The one that you wrap around the needle, you can see it's forming him a backbone. See there? Eva says she's ready. All right, let me finish up and get down to his nose. If I go real quiet, it's because I'm concentrating so that I don't stab myself. Eva's a fast sewer. Uh-oh, I didn't grab that one. My quilt group, we did a pincushion swap one time, and I have a set of really unique handmade pincushions. One's a lady kind of like Penelope, that lady I worked with at Joann's made. She used a ceramic head, and she's got a body that's just a big dress-shaped pincushion. I think Mary Lou had cancer. I haven't heard anything from her in a very long time. All right. Remember, you want to stop stitching where it starts getting flat again, because that's where his bottom's going to get sewed on, starting there. We got to do some stitches over his nose to give him a nose here in a minute. But we'll wait till he's stuffed to do that. I think it's a little bit easier, at least for me. Get him stuffed and then add his eyes and stuff. You may want to, before we start getting too much dimension on him though, we may want to go ahead and mark where his eye's going to go. Like I showed you earlier, you can see kind of where it's going to go, but if you have like a piece of white chalk or something, that you can make a little dot there and then flip it over and make a little dot on this side about in that same spot. But you can do it once it's stuffed too. It's just not quite as easy. So whenever you'd like to mark where the eye goes, you can. I just don't have anything right here. Prudence. Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. Everybody ready to do the bottom? All right. You're going to kind of open this up. This is where we stop sewing. Now we've got to put the bottom in, and it just fits in. And what you do is you start sewing this side around to his bottom. So you're going to just kind of fold it in half kind of, and push it in there a little ways. And we're going to do the same as we did for his back, but we're going to do it on the sides. So the point will meet up at his fanny back here. And if you want, you can put a couple pins in. And then I like to put a pin about midway, just so I don't start going all crazy. All right, so I've just got a couple pins in there. I've got the very front of the curve with the point at his nose. And I'm just going to keep doing the blanket stitch, but now I'm going to do it over one side of the bottom, the base. We're going to do one side of the base. And then when we get to the other side, we'll sew it a little ways, and then we'll stuff him. So make sure you're only on this side of the hedgehog, not going through this side, the bottom, and the other side. You just want to go through the base and this side, and just keep doing your blanket stitch. I'm going to have to get more thread. Kind of hoping I can get all the way back to his fanny before I need thread, but I don't know. I think I'm going to need it before. This little guy turns out so cute, and I've also made little hats out of felt. I got that pattern from a magazine one year. I'm not real sure where I put it. But it's a whole lot of fun to make, and you can add beads and things to it. And I kept looking and looking to find where this pattern originated, and it is on so many different pages that I just put up that term that YouTube said to use about no copyright infringement intended. Hopefully I won't get in trouble, but if I do, I'll just demonetize this video. And I'm just going to stuff him with regular fiber fill, poly fiber fill. If I had all my stuff, I have doll pellets as well, and they add some weight. All right, I'm going to go ahead and tie this piece off and get a fresh one. So I'm going to do like I would normally do a blanket stitch, but I'm going to wrap it around the needle twice and then pull it through. And that made a knot. So now I'm going to just feed this in and come out from the side. And I'm just going to cut it off close to the side of the hedgehog so the tail will be caught on the inside. And you won't see the tail. And I'm just going to get another piece out. Oh dear, that needle, there it is. Can't see. Oh, Mary, now you're making me want to make a skunk. That just sounds like it's going to be adorable. So I'm going to separate out 2 more strands of floss. And I know most people say just do one at a time, but I've always done it this way. As long as you don't let it roll all the way up and stay stuck on itself, it works out okay. And then I'll get my needle threader again. Get the right end of the needle, Becky. It helps. Our son's going to come up here this weekend and attend an event up here. We're trying to get him used to trying to find things to do in the area. So maybe he'll move on up here when we get the house sold. Right now, his job's down there, and he looks after the house for us and feeds the dogs. All right, so I'm going to tie a knot. I just grab the thread between my index finger and my thumb, and I wrap it around till it passes my thumb again, and then I just roll it and then pull it toward me, and that ties a knot in it. Just like that. And again, I'll hide the knot on the inside. And when I'm going to start again, I come in right next to the stitch that I ended on. That way I can continue the blanket stitch. I'm just going between the layers so I can hide the knot. We'll just tuck that up inside our hedgehog. Put his stitches inside him here. I can get it to go down in there. All right. I think I can make it hide. All right. Now I'm just going to go back to doing the stitches. Okay. Yeah. I gave credit to a Vicky Rose because that was the name on the picture, but I'm thinking she snitched it from somebody else. So, and then it had said on there that if you included the term no copyright infringement intended, I was okay too. But I tried to go back to the original creator and it was just like impossible. So if the original creator sees that I'm using it and contacts me, I'll explain what was going on, and perhaps, you know, I'll have to readjust the thing to give full credit. I just don't want to step on anybody's toes, you know, because people think this stuff up, and, you know, they should be given credit. Oh dear. I've got a knot started on my tail. Don't want that to continue, because that'll just keep. Oh, my stupid hands today are just driving me crazy. There we go. I got it off from there. Yes, Monica, we're live. So hello, welcome. You want a weighted blanket? Oh, I couldn't do a weighted blanket. That would just be excruciating to me, but I understand it helps some folks. Scott and I have both had wicked body aches the last couple days. I told him, I said, you better not have brought the flu home already. He got the flu one year, and I thought I was going to lose him, you guys. I could hear his lungs wheezing, laying next to me in bed. And then when he started getting better, he said, you know, the other night when you heard me wheezing, I was thinking about getting you to take me to the emergency room. And I said, I should have just took you, whether you wanted to go or not. Scared the daylights out of me. And then Greg got it, and it got in his uvula, and his throat almost swelled shut, and he didn't have any insurance. So Mom and Dad had to pay that $400 bill to get him some steroid shots, because we should have just took him on to the hospital. But we went to the doctor's office instead. And then they fussed when they finally got Greg better that I should have taken him there. I said, well, why didn't you just tell us to take him to the hospital to begin with? And instead of being so secretive, why didn't you just say you guys need to go straight to the hospital? Sometimes I wonder what they're thinking. I keep trying to read chat and stitch, and it doesn't work. At least I'm not going, ow, ow, ow. Uh-oh, I didn't get that. I'll just pick it up this way. All right, when you get down to this other side and you're at the point near his bottom, hang on just a sec. A couple more stitches and I'll be at his fanny. That one I missed doing. All right, so I've got the point of the pattern right there. I'm going to go ahead and do one more stitch on that side of his body. And then I want to do through the very end tip of the base and then back in the other side of his body, so that I have two stitches fairly close together, but one is holding his base onto this side of his body, and one of the closely stitched stitches is holding this one. So you don't have a little opening there where stuffing will come out. Now, if you want to start stuffing now, you can, but I generally like to sew to where I have just a small opening left on this other side. Say about 2 inches, leave a 2-inch opening I think what I'm going to do though is maybe pin it. Get it so it's almost smooth so that as I'm stitching to that last 2 inches, everything's nice and even. So midway down the other side, basically, I'm going to stitch to the midway point and then stuff him and then finish sewing him up. And then we'll give him an eyeball. Now, if you don't want to do French knots for his eyeballs, you can sew tiny little buttons. You can add googly eyes, whatever kind of eyes you want to add to your hedgehog. You go for it. Hi, Mitzi. I just saw you said hi. And hi, Patricia Stubbs. How are you? I didn't see Patricia sneak in. Now, if you know some other decorative stitches, that would cover an edge, go for it. You can do all kinds of stuff if you know all the fancy stitches. I just like this blanket stitch. It's what they used to make him to begin with. Plus, it seals it up so good the stuffing doesn't come out. Did y'all watch Chelsea's video today? She got in a box from, what was that company's name? Artista? They sent her a quilting ruler, a rotary cutter, a mat, and some stick-on vinyl. And she was doing, what is it called? She was masking with the stick-on vinyl on Yupo paper. Her end results were just gorgeous. Well worth watching. I don't know if I'll try that vinyl though. It seemed to be really sticky. I mean, she worked it. It's just seemed really, really sticky. But they sent her the stuff, expecting her to do a video and talk about it. And she's got a discount code attached with it too. But you see, I already have all that stuff, so I don't need to buy more. So I know I thought I would do some. It won't let you download it. That's what I had to do is download it from Flickr and tell it that you want it in original size. That's how I had to print it again. It used to be that you could just print it right off once you opened it at Pinterest, but it's a little different now, I guess. All right, I'm to my center pin, so I'm going to start stuffing the little feller. I might put one more stitch in. That way I can get rid of that pin. All right. If the last couple stitches come loose a little bit as you're stuffing, you can always, pull it tight again in a minute. And I've got some stuffing over here. And boy, this looks blue on here, but I don't know. Yeah, it is blue, but it looks purple on the screen is what I was meaning to say. And see, I just got this fiber fill. And then once you get a whole bunch of fiber fill in, I'm just going to put maybe 6 of these in there, the little flat. 2, 4. Maybe 10 of them. I'll put about 10 of those in the bottom just to keep him upright. So when you're pinning into him, he doesn't Oh, maybe that is it, because I didn't know I had a Flickr account, but it started asking for sign in, and I just told it next each time because it was automatically filled on my computer. And Lisa Lane says you don't need one. She says she doesn't have one and she got it. Sometimes I'll think it didn't download and it will have on me. So I have to go looking to see if it downloaded it someplace weird. And I know for better stuffing, you should add little teeny pieces. I just don't want to take all day to do this. See, he's starting to come together. I like to stuff him pretty firm. Oh, she's on her mobile. All right, he's getting pretty full now. It's starting to fight back, so I think I'm going to call that good. All right. I'm going to start shoving some of them marbles toward his butt. There's one. Trying to keep them flat because they're those flat marbles. I'm just trying to give him some weight in his fanny so he'll stay upright and not roll around. And I think these flat marbles are the perfect thing for this. All right, I'm going to stitch a few more stitches, and then I'll add the rest of those marbles. Mary, if you can't get it, I'll have to see if I can get it to you. He's a stinking little cute feller when he's all done. You have to kind of hold the layers together as you stitch along. You know, keep your edges of your fabric even. This is making me think about that medieval gown I did for my sister, and I had to hand sew on all that braid. Whew. That was a lot of work. I'll have to see if I can find the pictures of that. she's in the SCA, and they wear medieval gowns and things like that. And she fences and that kind of stuff. Yeah, oh, I'm loving having the beads in the bottom. I wish I'd done that before. I think one more. So 8 of those flat marbles is the perfect amount to keep him bottom heavy. So he'll stay upright next to you on your work table. I'm going to have to make some of these and gift them to the quilting group at Christmas. That's what I'll do. My little quilting group. This will be Christmas presents. Barb, don't tell the others. I think Barb Filion's the only one that watches my videos that's in my quilt group. No, Janet, don't you say anything either, because you're in there too. Oh. Let's see. Yep, he's coming right along. It gets a little bit more difficult as you're getting to the very end of the seam, but you'll get it. If this is your first project, you're doing good, because when I started to sew, I learned on just flat, straight ahead seams. So, of course, I was 9 years old too. So I guess that's why they start children with just squares. You learn to sew squares together. At least that's how I learned, is sew a whole bunch of squares together, and guess what? You have a blanket. I'm going to try to tuck that little point from his base back in a little bit. See if I can get it to do. All right. And again, I'm going to do the last stitch on that side, but then I'm going to go and I'm going to stitch back on his other side just so it stays closed good. There he is. Oh, you're leaving, Tanya? Okay. Enjoy your dinner. Oh, you got it. Yay, Mary got it. All right, you're supposed to, for his nose, it's just basically you do a stitch until you cover his nose with a thread. So you could choose a different color and give him a funky little nose. His nose isn't very full of stuff, but if I stitch on it, he'll be okay. So I'm wondering, I'm going to tie this off. I wonder what color nose I should give him. My blue hedgehog. He's going to have purple ears. I wonder if I've got purple thread. I could do just black. And I'm going to feed my tail after I've tied the knot, and just feed it through and come out the other side. And then I'll just trim it flush to the hedgehog. See, and he bounces back up because I put the marbles in. Watch. He's like a weeble wobble. Oh, I'm glad I thought to do that. The other ones I made didn't have anything in their bottom, and they would just tip over so easy. Oh, I like that. So get some of the plastic flattened, not plastic, they're glass, flattened marbles at the dollar store. They have them at Dollar Tree for $1 for a whole bag. And I all the time find them at Goodwill. All right. That's the pattern. These really work so good. Oh, I love that. Oh, he's going to be drunkard on one side. But there's that. Now we need to cover his nose with some stitches to give him a little nose. Let's see what we've got here that's kind of a dark color. I'm just using my thrift store threads. I think that's the darkest color in there, and I'm just going to give him a quick little nose here. I don't need a whole bunch of thread. Yep, that really made a big difference, and it keeps him upright. All right, I think this time I'm going to do 3 threads for his eyes and his nose. And I'm just going to do a kind of a whip stitch on his nose, or a satin stitch, which is just repeatedly going back and forth, around and around. I'll show you. Needle threader to the rescue. As I sit here sticking my tongue out as I'm doing it. Oh well. All right, so again, I'm going to tie a knot. Normally when you do embroidery, you don't do knots. You catch your tail, but I'm going to put a little knot in because I'll cover it. I think I'll get it. And what I'm going to do is just go in at the bottom of his nose and come up through the top of his nose. And I'll cover that tail up and do that again. All on one side, and then I'll do the other side. You don't want to pull it too tight though. Just pull it till it lays flat on his nose. All right, I got to the end of his nose, so I'll go up the other side of his nose here. Let's see, I gotta go this way. Getting it good on that one side. I need to, well, let me finish this side and then I'll switch around. You just basically want to just keep doing some little stitches on it until his nose is kind of covered. I think I'll come back this way. And it does help if you treat it like a blanket stitch too, and have the pin to one side. Right, his nose is almost covered. And see, I just covered up his nose and gave him a little nose. It's not the best nose in the world. I don't know. I might actually do some stitches the other way so that it looks like I've done a decent job on his nose, I guess. Uh-oh, the needle came unthreaded. Yes, exactly the same things. It's the floral marbles. That's what I've stuck in his fanny. And it's keeping him going right side up. I'm going to say his nose is as good as it's going to get. You know what? I didn't get that threaded too good. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave his nose alone. I guess I need to get the needle threader again because I didn't get it all threaded. That's what happened. I think I'm going to tie this off and say his nose is good enough. But see, yeah, I should have done his nose some way different. You just keep doing stitches on his nose until his nose is covered. I'm going to say mine's done. Maybe he got almost caught in a trap. That's what's happened to his nose. I don't know. He's having nose issues. How are we on time anyway? Oh, we're doing pretty good. All right. He's not the greatest nose in the world, but he's got a little nose of sorts. Looks better on one side than it does on the other, but that's one of those things you just have to keep doing until you get good at it. Then we got to sew his ears and give him some eyeballs. And if you take your pattern piece and kind of lay it up onto your thing, you can see he needs one eye here, and then the other one, of course, will correspond on the other side. It says make a French knot for each eye where it's marked on the pattern. Well, I can do French knots. Oh, I love it that he just stands back up. That's just awesome. Oh, I missed the threader entirely. See, I can barely see the hole in the threader. That's not good. There we go. And those things are so cheap that sometimes they'll, just pull apart. I'm not going to tie this time. Let's see, I guess I'll do it this way and then I can see. Lining this up, and I'm going to just come in from the other side and just poke through the hole where his eyeball is. Well, close enough. And I'm just going to pull this back off, pull the pattern piece off. I'm just going to pull this until the thread almost disappears, like that. And then I'll go ahead and do the French knot. And to do a French knot, you just stick your needle about 1/4 inch away from where you just came out, and then come back through, wrap. Ooh, got to be careful. Let me do that again. I can still see my hole. All right, I'm going to leave a little bit longer tail in case I do something, and I'm going to hold it by my thumb. Come down into the fabric 1/4 inch away from where you just came through and out. Come back up the same place. Wrap your thread. This is harder than it looks. Around the needle. And then push your knot as you're pulling your thread. So all your thread ends up back down at the base of there. And then you can just put your needle back to the other side and do another French knot. Makes a tiny little eyeball. And then what I do is the piece that I left a tail, I'm just going to cut it off and do my second French knot. You just don't want to be too far away from your original, where the thread originally came out. Then wrap it 3 or 4 times. And I just keep pushing the thread I looped around it toward, and keep it near the fabric so it doesn't raise up. And you've done another French knot. And then you can feed your thread back through. Come out about where his ear's supposed to go, which is about a 1/2 inch above him. Okay. And see, now he's got little beady eyes that you can hardly see. That's probably Gregory called me. See his eyeballs? All right. When you do his ears, they want you to, you do a little fold just in the center of his ear and take a little stitch so that it makes his ear like this, and then you fold it back out. Does that make sense? So you end up with that. So like, here's the ear, fold it in half, pinch it at the middle, and you can take a stitch there. Actually, let's just go ahead and put a little stitch in. And I'm using the thread as it's attached to his ear here. And I'm just going to put a stitch up through it, and then I'll come back to the other side, and I'll pull it down to his head like that. And then you just want to get his ears. See how it does? So that the little folded place is under there. And then we'll just stitch the bottom of his ear. Come up through there. And then I'll go back into his body and go to the top of his ear. And then we'll do another little stitch into his ear. Okay, there's his ear. And then I'm just going to stitch through his body to the other side and attach the other ear. And you can play around with his ears. I think I got his ear a little close to his eyeball. But that's just one of those things you have to play around with. So I'm going to go with him just as he is. Hold it close to the camera. Can you see his ear? The little indentations where I put a fold in the center of the ear and I took a stitch through it. And then I just came down, flattened it back out, and did a stitch out this corner, went back through his body, came out up here, and then did a stitch through this side of his ear. And then I went back through his head and came out over here, where I'm going to do the same thing to attach his other little ear. Does that make sense? So now I'm on his other side of his head. I don't know if I'm in the right place or not, but I'm going to fold his ear in half and go ahead and take a stitch. And because it's on him instead of separate, I just pull it down to his head, go back through again, and then back down like toward the bottom of his ear. Act like you're going toward his ear and get your thread in that location. And then all you got to do is turn the ear, come back up through the back side of the ear like that. And that end will lay flat now. Oh, his ear didn't stay folded though. Hang on. I didn't get a good enough stitch in his fold. Let me back out. The little fold didn't stay in his ear that time. I didn't stitch it good enough. All right, let's get the needle threader again so I can see what I'm doing here, maybe. A sewing bee traditionally is when ladies would get together with their mending piles and they would sit around and talk and gossip and, you know, all that kind of stuff ladies like to do when they get together in a crowd. And they would just sit and like mend socks and sit and chat and that kind of stuff. And I just thought it would be fun. I'll have to think up some other projects for us to do. All right, I'm going to take another stitch so his little fold will stay and hope he'll come back down to his head. That's what I was afraid it was going to knot and mess me up. What have I done? Okay. I got to get it where I can see it. Sorry, guys. I can't see why I messed up here. Okay. Whoops. All right. Okay. I don't know what I did, but I messed him up. Oh. His ear's not doing right now. My stomach's growling because I can smell that tenderloin I cooked this morning. Might have to make me a sandwich or something. Is that getting him closer to his body? No. All right. Let me see what I've done here. Okay. I'll figure out what I've done wrong. Okay, I got it back down to his head. His ear was like floating in the air. All right. Needle threader. Again. So I would say this is a must-have for your sewing box. It's a needle threader. Doesn't help that the daylight that was so good earlier is disappearing as the sun is going toward the lake. All right. All right. I want that fold to stay in his ear. I've got it down next to his head now. But I'm still going to go back through both layers of the ear and not his body because I want him to have a nice little fold in that ear. Okay. Now I'll go through the body a little ways so I can catch the sides of his ears. All right, so I'll catch this side. And then go back through. It's still not as cute as the other side of his head, but it's okay. He has two ears. And you can practice sewing them on, you know, facing different directions if you want him to look more puzzled or whatever. There we go. Okay. That's the little hedgehog. Right. I'm going to knot this. I don't know if I want to knot it between his eyes. Maybe I'll go back down behind this other ear and knot it. So I can hide this knot behind his ear. Again, I just put the needle through the thread just a little bit, and then I'm going to wrap the thread around the needle and then hold the thread kind of taut as I pull the needle through. And that'll keep the knot close to the body of the material that you're working on. And then just feed your needle to a good point where you think you can clip it and get a nice clean clip where the tails can disappear back up into the body. And then that way you don't have to worry about, you know, threads being visible anywhere. There we go. Hedgehog. And then to make him really look like a hedgehog, you have to put pins in him. And I think that pin was about dull as it could be. Because, you know, the little hedgehogs have little spiky things. There we go. But by the time you fill him up with pins, they look pretty cool. So anyway, I hope you guys had fun making them. So it's only $3.59. I do have another small project, but it involves using the machine. I don't know if y'all want to do that or just stop at the hedgehog. I'll leave it up to you guys. I had another project in mind, but we can wait and do it another day if you want to. It's a hedgehog. What is the project? I was going to do little reusable, hang on, reusable bags for your produce so that you don't have to use those plastic bags at the grocery store. I mean, we're already taking grocery sacks. Might as well save that plastic at the in the grocery section too. You'll make him later. Mary says go for it. All right. I'm going to leave our little guy over here so he can watch. Where can he watch? He can watch over here. There he is. He's watching. All right. So I hope you guys had fun with the little hedgehog. And Mary, if you turn one into a skunk, I'd love to see it. All right. I do not have a fat quarter handy, but I have the fabric I bought to do this project. And what I'm going to do will probably give you all a heart attack, but a fat quarter is nothing but a half of a yard of fabric. So 18 inches is a half a yard. So I'm going to take my measuring tape and I'm going to, from the edge where they cut it at the store, this was a closeout fabric at Hobby Lobby for like $2. I'm going to measure over 18 inches. And I'm just going to snip it. All right. And then I'm going to tear it. All right. And then fold it in half. Find your half. So you're getting half of a half a yard. So this should give you, it's right about here. again, I'm just going to snip it. This might have been a little bit wider than 44 inches, but we're only going to use one of these. All right. All right, so it's 22 inches by 18 inches. I hope it's 18 inches square. If not, my bag's going to be kind of funky. When you tear something, when you snip it and tear it, it will follow the natural weave of the fabric. Let's fold it in half, see if this is, it's pretty close. It's pretty close. All right, so what I'm going to do is I want tall bags for my produce, you know, them to be taller. Does everybody know how to do a French seam? If not, I'll tell you how to do it. We're going to fold it so it's 18 inches this way and 22 inches this way. So when you fold it in half, it should be 11 inches, right? Yep, 11 inches. What I'm going to do, I've got it folded in half. And the reason I'm doing a French seam is because these will probably get washed a lot, and it is cotton. And I just want to make sure it doesn't ravel ever. So basically fold your fat quarter in half so that when it's folded in half, it measures 11 inches. Your bag will be 18 inches deep. And I'm going to go ahead and put some pins in here. And I put mine so they face to the out so that as I'm sewing, I can pull them out before I get to them so I'm not sewing over them. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stitch about 3/8 of an inch, a little less than half an inch, a little more than a quarter. And I'm just going to sew down this way. I'll show you. See if I can get you guys back up here. Again, I probably can't get you any closer. So this is a 1/4 inch foot. I'm just going to sew. Why aren't you working? Oh, the bobbin thing got pushed over. That's why. All right. Mine doesn't have little marks on it that say a 1/2 inch, 5/8, 7/8, like my old machine does. It just has some little grids. I really don't, that's one thing I don't like about this. But I'm just going to line my fabric up under the presser foot with the edge of that little grid, and that's what I'm going to use. And that's just a little bit over the 1/4. And keep in mind, these are produce bags. They don't have to be exactly dead on. Again, this, if you're not looking straight on, you'll get a different perspective. Like Mary says, when you're drawing, you get a different perspective if you're not straight over your work. And again, I do this to save thread. Because see, now I don't have a tail sitting here waiting to just be thrown away and thrown away. Okay, so it's been sewn. You can't really see it. Just about a pinky width away from the edge. All right. Then what we do to make a French seam is you turn it Wrong side out. And I would normally press this flat, but I am at max to the number of things I've got plugged in over here. So I'm going to, hang on, I forgot y'all were over there. Sorry. Parallax, yeah. You really need to press this when you're really doing real good French seams. But I'm just going to finger press it until it's nice and flat and stick a pin back in it. Generally, what you would do is trim really close to the stitches you just made. But I think I'm going to leave it because they will have produce in them, and I don't want them to, pull out or anything. And I'm just working it between my fingers until it lays flat. Trying to reuse the pins I already had out over here. You can see I'm just working it back and forth until it lays flat down. And the reason I didn't trim the selvage away is it's going to be encased in here anyway. Designer clothes a lot of times will have French seams to keep the fabric from fraying and pulling apart. It's very labor intensive. That's why that stuff costs so much. You see it a lot in couture clothing. I used to think I'd want to go into fashion design, but didn't happen. Can't cry over spilt milk, right? So now I'm going to stitch about a ½ inch because I want to encase the previous fabric edges between here. So then I'll show you what happens then. I'm just going to do that real quick and I'll come right back. I wish I had another camera that I could just set up by the machine, but I don't have one at the moment. I'm just doing a couple back stitches on this end of this. And I forgot to put my little thing in there, so now I'm going to have a bunch of thread wasted, but it's all right. I'm not going to worry about it right this second. I'll just leave that where I catch it on the next one. All right. So now you can see it's all, there's no raw edges. And technically, when I made this up in my mind, I was going to end up with the French seam on the outside so that it would look like a sack on the outside, but that's okay. So when we turn it right side out, there won't be anything on the outside. It'll just be a sack, and there'll be nothing on the inside that a vegetable could catch on or anything. So now we need to just hem them. And I was not even going to put a drawstring in these. I was just going to have them as a sack that they could look down in and see what you had, put the number in. And these won't weigh enough to really change your weight on your vegetable that much. So I think I will do a French seam in the opposite direction on the bottom of the bag, just so y'all can see what the difference would be. So I'll turn this so right sides are together, and then you guys can decide which finish you like best. How's that sound? So I want to make sure this is laying nice and flat. I don't think there's a direction to this pattern, this print, and it's a vegetable bag. I'm not going to worry about it. I'll put a few pins at the bottom, only like 3. And then I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to stitch just a little bit away from the finished edge. In fact, I might do just a 1/4 inch this time. Okay, did I get it? Yeah, it's sewed good enough. I'll turn it back right side out. Basically, this time, what I will do, I need something to poke that out. I have a little wooden tool that works for that. But do I have it over here? No, and I've got myself kind of pinned in. But just try to work your corners so they're flat. This side will be a little bit more difficult because you've got that other French seam in there. And then I'm just going to top stitch to seal that edge in. Again, work it so it lays nice and flat, which this is easier if you have your iron available. I'm going to get with Scott and see if I can work an extension cord that has a ground on it that'll reach this distance. Adele had additional plugs added, but she didn't have enough additional plugs for actually somebody that works within the house. She might run a TV or a computer. She doesn't do sewing machines and all of that stuff, so there's not nearly enough. So I'll just go ahead and do a top stitch about a 1/2 inch away from the edge, and I'll show you what that looks like. And I think that's what I would have wanted to do all around my bag instead of just, I've got quite a bulk there on the corner. Starting to go. There we go. Basically, this is just a top stitch. I'm sure the first time I take some of these bags in to use them, they're going to go, "What are you doing?" I'm just fed up with those plastic bags. You put the vegetables in them to weigh them and to contain them, and then you have to bring them home. And what do you do with those thin plastic bags? At least the grocery sacks I reuse for Scott's lunch bags. He carries his lunch in those. All right. These scissors need help. All right. So if I had done the other French seam, it would all be on the outside like this, and it would lay flat. And I think that's what I want to do. So if you do this and you want a nice flat bag, start by sewing right sides together and then sew wrong sides as a top stitch. Because see, this is what it looks like on the inside. And see, it lays flat when you do it toward the outside. So to end up with the outside finish, start right sides together, turn it, and then do your top stitch. that's what I want to do for all the rest of them. So this was a learning experience. And then I'm going to hem the top edge. And generally I would press it, but all I'm going to do is fold it over and then over again about a quarter of an inch. And I've always had better luck with doing things twice when it comes to hems. As I'll fold this in and add a pin, and I'll go all the way around and have pins in it, and then I'll fold it again, and that way my hem is even. Yeah, you just toss them, and I'm just fed up with plastic. So I said, you know what? I've seen Life Goes North. She was making vegetable bags on her channel the other day. And I said, you know what? I'm going to make some of those. And I've got that inexpensive fabric. I got it Hobby Lobby. They've got some nice cottons marked down to $2 a yard. And out of 1 yard, you would get 4 produce bags. So for $2, you get some reusable bags made up. Easy, easy, easy. Or if you've got fat quarters just laying around that you've picked up, you know, the little flat fat quarters that you get for a couple bucks. They're 18 by 22. This is made with an 18 by 22 piece of fabric. I'm pretty good at eyeballing as far as hems and things like that go. But if you're not comfortable with just eyeballing it and pinning it and going, feel free to get a hem guide. I've got one. Not sure where it is right now, but it's a ruler with a little gadget in the middle that you can adjust to the amount of hem you want. And then it's got 2 little pointy sections, and you just line them up with each edge so that you have the same amount all the way around. Oh, Tanya's back? Yeah, you want your presser foot up to thread your machine. I always put mine down when I'm going to store it, but all right, I'm going to go ahead and roll this the same distance. I'm just going to fold this over and pin it. And I'm going to go all the way around, and then I'll sew it down. Another reason not to do the French seam to the inside on these bags is you're going to end up with a lot of bulk on that edge that I wouldn't have if it was on the outside. Lesson learned. And now I know which way to go. I don't need that pin. And I figure if I don't put, they're probably going to not give me great control of like round vegetables, but they'll be in this. And if I stack them up in the buggy or whatever y'all call it, shopping cart, we call them buggies here. If I keep them to the edge of the cart, the thing shouldn't roll out of them. I just don't want to add anything that'll give them a burden at the register, you know, as far as trying to get to the vegetables to see what they are. I figured if I just left it open, it would be better. Of course, I could be wrong. It could be better to have a drawstring, but I just wanted something easy that we could do. All right, see right there, I'm going to have to go down and slow down because I've got quite a bulk there, but it'll be all right. Why do I need to use the buttonhole foot? You mean my walking foot? I was just going to use my my piecing foot I have on here. I'm just stitching close to the edge of the hem. And anytime you want to turn your fabric, get your needle in the fabric, push your needle down button, or pull your wheel toward you till your needle is down in your fabric. I've got to get a better setup for this. Maybe a second Logitech that I could put right on the machine. We'll see. I kind of like the hand projects. That way y'all can do them without a machine. I'm almost done. Hang on. I'm having to go slow up over that big old hump. There we go. And I guess what I could have done is here at the side seam, I could have stitched a ribbon down. I can still do that. Just take a piece of ribbon, maybe grosgrain would work best, and tack it on the side, and then I could put the vegetables in and then wrap that and tie it closed that way. I could do that real quick. I don't know if I've got pink grosgrain. I'll have to see what I've got. Oh, so you're thinking put a button down here and then maybe have this come over and button it? Janet, when you figure out what you what you're going to do, I'd love to see it. So anyway, I don't know if that interested you guys or not, but try to think of ways to save the planet at the same time as sewing. I need to make some more of these bags, and I am going to do the French seams to the outside, because now the inside of the bag, when you do it that way, it's smooth on the inside instead of having this big old honking seam in there. So yeah, lesson learned on that one. Start with them right sides together, do 1/4 inch or 3/8 inch, whatever you decide. Then turn it right side out again and top stitch. And then it would have been all one uniform thing. In fact, I could do that. Just do one seam down and across, turn it right side out, and then just do a top stitch. Man, that would save a ton of time. The reason I'm staying away from the drawstring is I can see the people here at the grocery store having a really hard time with the drawstring. I mean, sometimes they are downright ugly at the grocery store. But anyway, I think these turned out pretty cute. And I really do like doing the French seam. But I was thinking, if I tacked a ribbon on, then I could just tie it closed and I could untie it, but I don't know. I had originally thought out drawstring, but we'll see. I can always add a drawstring later if I decide to, by just putting, binding strip. Just put a strip here and a strip on this side. Then I can feed a ribbon through that. That type will do. I'm sorry, I'm thinking as I'm speaking. Yeah, if I do a little trough, or what is it called? If I did that, stitched one on this side and that side, and fed a ribbon around the bag from one direction and then the other, and then when you pull them, it would just close the bag. I don't know if I have anything right here behind me. I'm serious, you guys. I have myself in a corner over here. Let's see. I have a ton of bias tape. Do I know where it is? No. Let's see. All right. Oh, sorry. Sorry. I got this at the thrift store for $1. This would probably be easier if I added this before I sewed the bag together, but I'm thinking as I'm going. All right. So if I make a trough with this grosgrain ribbon here, let's measure it, see how far across we are. Yeah, I'm thinking I'm going to make some totes too. Let's just make the trough piece 9.5 inches. So if I add 9.5, make it 10.5 cuts of ribbon here, then I can fold under the ends. And I'm just going to make it the same size here. Even that up. All right. I'm gonna take it over to the machine, and I'm just gonna do a zigzag stitch. I'm gonna fold the ends of the ribbon over and do a zigzag stitch over the ends, and then I'll bring it back over here to the bag and come down a couple inches maybe, and just pin it in place on one side of the bag. Actually, I can come in a 1/2 inch. I added a full inch, so zigzag a 1/2 inch, and then stitch it down. Leave the ends open, stitch down along each side of the ribbon. Then I have a trough that I can feed ribbons through. I'll show you guys. But first we're going to fold these over about a 1/2 inch and zigzag to hold that down. So I need a zigzag stitch. Oh, can't do that with this piecing foot. I'll have a broken needle in no time. Hang on. That one will do a zigzag. There we go. Okay. All right. So I'm going to eyeball a 1/2 inch on all of these. And just zigzag that end down. Back stitching, guys. I don't want it to come undone because I foresee these getting plenty of use. Okay. So everybody that hasn't had their machine out in a while, get it out. Play with it some. We might as well keep all of our addictions in practice. Sorry guys, it can't be much fun just waiting for me to show back up over here. All right, and I just did them one after another, like so. All right, now the fun part is I've got to try to pin these down. Use grommets. Grommets take too much time to set. I don't have a grommet thing, majigger. I have to use what I got, Mary. All right, I'm going to stitch these down. Oh, hi, Ruth. Yep, we made a hedgehog. You want to see the hedgehog? There's our hedgehog. All right, I'm just pinning through one layer, one side of this. I'll take one of the hedgehog's pins. All right, and I'll pin this on this side. And I'm putting the side with the cut end of the ribbon down below. Oh, Lisa had to go. Okay, see you later. I gotta take the accessory tray off. Hang on. Basically, I'm making this bag on the fly, you guys. So it's the first time making one and taking y'all along with me as we go. I'm almost done stitching. I just have to be quiet and concentrate so I don't go crazy. Okay. Who's harvesting lavender? You can make these really small like this and make lavender sachets to put in your jammies drawer. My sister used to say, it doesn't matter how long your clothes have been in the drawers. They always smell so good. I said, well, you just have to put some handmade sachets. And at the time, I was making them out of that real pretty lace you can get at the fabric stores. That's like Mary and Lisa have been using on the jelly plate. I think it's Lisa been using on the jelly plate. All right, so now I've got these guides in here. All right, I'm going to have to get myself out of this corner so I can get some ribbon now. Let me show you guys what this does because it's really cool. Ow! I sat too long. My legs said no. All right, let me go get ribbon and a safety pin. I'm going to use this brown ribbon because it's for vegetables and I don't want to use anything too fancy for the vegetables. Certainly there's a safety pin in all this mess. Oh, I know where there's a safety pin. I think I saw something here. No? Where did I see safety pins? Sorry, guys. Hang on. Safety pin. Might have to use paper clip. One of these, one time we'll have to do a get together and we'll go through Aunt Marietta's old sewing machine drawers. I've never seen so many old buttons in my life. All right. I'm going to put Oh, please fit, because you're all I have. Okay. Oh, Eva, that sounds horrible. That's a special kind of pain when you hit your toe dead on. I'm going to have to scroll back up once I get this done so I can see what y'all were talking about. The whole lavender comments has me intrigued. All right, so we'll take this. I've got fray checks somewhere that I could tie, not tie, but fix this ribbon so it doesn't come undone. All right, we'll just match these ends up. And I'll tie a little knot in here. All right. There's one. I think my blood sugar has dropped too because I'm starting to do that shaky thing. All right, so I'm going to feed this back through the opposite direction. And I wonder why my hands get sore. Huh. Who'd have thunk it? I'm sure I'll get some nasty comment on this video. Oh, well. Can't please everybody. All right. And we'll go back down this other one. And you're probably going, why is she putting 2 ribbons in there? You'll see. I tried to grow lavender down here, and it just does not like the climate at all here at this house. Well, actually down at our house, because I haven't tried to grow anything here. Right, and then I'll tie these ends around. All right. I don't know. I've got this one nasty person that leaves nasty comments. It's not a subscriber. It's somebody that's got like 2. All right. So see, I've got ribbons up both sides. And when you pull them, that's why I did it like that. And then all they've got to do is that, and it's open. These make great jammy bags too for kids. If you want them to keep their rooms clean, put their jammies in a bag and they can leave them on their bed and it doesn't look bad. So we made a vegetable bag for the grocery store and a hedgehog. Who's calling it a December dairy? Yeah, sachets needs to be added to the project list. I just have to figure out where to find stuff. I made a little book to do a December daily, and I never put anything in it. So anyway, It's almost 5 o'clock, so I timed that about right. The 2 to 5, that's 3 hours. Diary, not dairy. Oh. I thought maybe you were going to try all kinds of different flavors of ice cream throughout December and add it to your December daily. So for everybody that played along or makes some of these later, I'd love to see them. Mitzi said she thought you were going to do cows. That could be a funny December daily. You could get you a bunch of cows and put them in not Halloween. Now I'm making it a whole different holiday. Christmas costumes. You could do little angels and Santa Claus and turn one into a reindeer and cow nutcrackers. There you go. Oh, this is hilarious. Okay, Eva, I hope your toe gets better. And I'm going to let you guys go and go see what's in the mail and check my blood sugar and see if it's as low as I think it is. And I have had so much fun. This is such a blast. We are definitely going to have to do this each Tuesday. So I'll let you guys go and I'll see you tomorrow night. And thank you so much for stopping in and sharing the afternoon with me. Okay, bye-bye.